A virgin doctor revealed a touching kiss that transformed a cold gangster into a loving soul. The walls of the clinic echoed with muffled cries and the whirring of fluorescent lights, a stark reminder of the stark reality gripping this impoverished Chicago neighborhood. Dr. Emily Hayes, fresh out of medical school, held a stethoscope in one hand and a pallet of hope in the other. With her father's voice stern yet loving echoing in her head, she donned her white coat, ready to take on the world. He had been her guiding star, the veteran who taught her family was everything and that strength lies in unity. But tonight, as the sirens clawed at the fabric of the evening, a guttural rage brewed within her. Emily's heart raced when the doors burst open. A small boy barely 10 was wheeled in, blood seeping from a gash in his shoulder. Panic surged as she rushed to assess him. Blood. Fear. Her chest tightened. Memories of her father flashed before her, reminding her why she fought so hard. She could see it in the boy's eyes, the innocence crushed by the bullets of gang violence. "Stay with me," she murmured, her hands trembling as she wrapped a bandage tight around his wound. She could almost taste the bitterness of it all. The cold shadow of Viktor, the ice, Lombardi loomed large over this town, the man who left a trail of destruction in his wake. Each act of violence seemed to double back to him like a horror story without an ending. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she worked, her heart ignited with fury towards Viktor, the childhood stories imbued with danger swirling into a cyclone of bitterness. The boy's mother, a single parent, silently cried, whispering prayers as hope flickered like a dying light. That image haunted Emily, fear stealing childhoods while a villain thrived on the chaos. She had sworn to protect these kids, to offer them the family her father once provided. But it was then, in the midst of a teetering world, that a voice disrupted her thoughts, a deep, cold voice that sent shivers down her spine. Where's the kid? Viktor strolled in, flanked by turmoil. His presence loomed large, but in his eyes, the facade of ice cracked just a bit as they locked gazes. For a moment, she saw beyond the gangster, a lonely man, misplaced among shadows. They faced each other, emotion thick in the air, an electric charge wrapping them in unseen ties. The softness of her heart collided with the stone of his reality. In a moment of reckless abandon, driven by desperation and longing for redemption, she stepped forward. Their lips met, a kiss that didn't just bridge the divide between them but shattered the armored walls they built to protect their vulnerability. As silence enveloped them, tears brimmed in Viktor's eyes, and Emily saw humanity flicker to life behind his chilling exterior. But would he fight for it? The weight of that kiss hung heavy, a testament to the hope that blooms even in the darkest places. Would Viktor truly embrace a fresh start? Or would his past come crashing back in, slamming the door on what could be? As they stood there, worlds colliding, the question remained, when faced with the ghosts of their past, will they rise, or will they fall? The silence in the clinic felt like an eternity, stretching painfully as Emily and Viktor lingered in their moment. Time began to move again when the small boy's cries pierced through their shared world. The urgency snapped Emily back to reality. She couldn't afford to drown in this unexpected connection. With a trembling heart, she glanced back at the boy, whose fragile body waited for her care. Viktor seemed to sense her shift. As the professional took over once again, she turned her focus to saving a life. She felt him watching, his icy demeanor melting, just a little. "Get me the blood supply," she called out, her voice steadying. The moment strained, but Emily refused to break. She fought the nervous energy swirling around them, determined to block out Viktor's gaze. He had brought chaos, but she was there to create healing. Viktor moved faster than she'd ever seen, his frame becoming a blur. A gang leader who typically commanded fear was now fetching supplies intriguing. But what about the chaos he created for children like this boy? Emily Victor's voice broke through her thoughts, steady yet laced with uncertainty. I focus on the task, she interrupted, refocusing as she heard the nurse scurrying about, following her orders. Victor did as she commanded, blending into the action as if he were on another altar of life, a different battlefield where his power meant something other than fear. The transformation was jarring yet fragile. The boy's mouth was set in a grimace, gripping his mother's hand tightly. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and Emily felt the weight of the moment rest upon her shoulders. This was what it meant to be a doctor, to heal when the world was crumbling. It was a chance for redemption, not just for Victor but for her too. A part of her prayed that he wouldn't slip back into the shadows. Victor returned, blood supply in hand and a glimmer of adrenaline lighting his gaze. What do you need? Emily took a breath, her heart racing as she stitched the boy's wound, each precise motion a silent promise of protection. Stay with me, she urged the boy, directing her nurturing energy to him alone. I'm right here, Victor murmured, surprising her. He anchored himself beside Emily, ready to support her as she worked. The feeling shifted, instead of coldness, warmth began to creep in. But shadows cast over them. The bell rang out in the clinic, signaling the arrival of more chaotic souls, people who knew Victor, drawn like moths to the flame of violence he once embraced. Emily looked up, dread pooling in her stomach. Victor, you need to go. Her voice was low but urgent. He closed the distance between them, his body shielding her. I can't let you face this alone. The door swung open, bringing in unfamiliar faces, eyes sparkled with menace as they scanned the room. Victor's aura shifted again, tension creeping into every muscle. Stay behind me, all right? He instructed softly, but she could feel the hesitation in his voice. Fear bubbled within her. What if he fell back into the dark? Just when the gang members stepped forward, a spark ignited in the back of Victor's eyes. Not this time, he said, a mixture of surprise and resolve solidifying in his voice. Emily could sense the struggle in him, the battle between the past he knew and the future he dared to imagine. But amid chaos, Victor began to stand taller. Together? He whispered softly, eyes full of something she hadn't seen in him before, a promise. In that moment of unity, the question lingered heavy in the room, could they hold back the tide of darkness as one? And as time stood still, they braced for the challenge looming ahead. Would Victor's fight intensify their connection, or would it break them both apart again? The gang members entered like storm clouds, darkening the already tense atmosphere. Emily's heart pounded wildly in her chest, a rhythm of fear and determination. She could feel Victor's presence beside her, a grounding force shielding her from the chaos. Keep the lights low. One of the newcomers shouted. The energy in the room crackled, carrying the sharp tang of danger. The boy's mother instinctively pulled her child closer, shielding him as if the mere presence of the intruders could cause harm. Emily's thoughts raced. Victor, stay focused on the boy, she said, cutting through the tension. I'll take care of this. She knew the only way to protect them all was to stand firm. No. Victor's voice was harsh and fierce, his gaze fixed on the gang members advancing toward them. You're not getting caught in this. His protective nature surprised her, stirring a flicker of admiration, but the urgency of the situation remained. The boy's life depended on her, and Emily couldn't let fear trap her. We need to move him to the back room, she said, gripping the boy's small hand gently. We can't let them interfere. But Victor remained rooted, a statue of determination. I won't leave you. His fierce loyalty ignited something inside her, a warmth that seemed to seep through the fog of adrenaline. Then help me, she urged, their gazes locking. Here was this hardened man, once feared in the streets, now showing a glimmer of honor. With a fierce nod, Victor turned toward the growing threat. Get to the back. He commanded, his voice a low growl. Emily lifted the boy into her arms as she rushed toward the side door. She could feel Viktor pressing behind her, a solid wall of strength pushing back against the shadows. The gang members sneered as they advanced, fueled by intoxication and bravado. "Remember who you're messing with," one exclaimed, the echo of dangerous laughter bouncing around the clinic. With every step, Emily felt the weight of Viktor's decision, his willingness to stand against his past for her and this child. She turned back, catching a glimpse of him, caught in a tight stance, fierce yet vulnerable. "Keep going," he barked, his expression a mixture of fear and defiance. They reached the back room just as a shout pierced the air, and Viktor slammed the door shut. He was panting, resolute yet shaken. Emily set the boy down, pulling out a rolling cart of supplies. "We need to patch him up," she exclaimed, her hands trembling as she unpacked the essentials. She glanced at Viktor, who was standing guard, listening intently for the approach of the gang outside. "Are you okay?" "Not yet," he replied, a flash of concern crossing his face. "But I will be if you finish fixing him." As Emily worked, adrenaline kept her focused, and each stitch in the boy's wounds became a thread tying their fates together. She could feel Viktor's presence behind her, his strength a silent reassurance. Time seemed to slip away, swallowed by the sound of muffled chaos outside. But amidst the turmoil, the boy's whimpers slowly quieted. She looked down and found his grip on her hand relaxing, the tension slowly draining from his tiny body. "Good job, little fighter," she whispered, brushing the sweat from his forehead with her thumb. Viktor turned, meeting her gaze again. A moment passed where everything faded away. "You're incredible," he said, sincerity in his voice echoing louder than any threat outside. Before she could respond, the door rattled. The urgency returned, snapping her out of their shared moment. They weren't safe yet. Viktor's eyes were fierce as he moved closer, his body a shield against the encroaching darkness. "What do you want me to do?" Emily's heart raced. "We have to stay strong. If we can just hold on a bit longer." But then the door splintered, and a figure loomed in the opening. The sight of it broke the moment, and Emily's breath hitched. "Emily!" came a new voice. A chilling recognition. The question hanged in the air, heavy with implications. Who was it that would decide their fate? Would their unity hold strong against the unraveling chaos? And around them, the storm continued to kindle. Emily's heart dropped as the figure stepped fully into the room. The familiar face, framed by wild curls and a fierce expression, sent a jolt of dread coursing through her veins. Max. Her old rival, once a friend turned enemy, now stood in the doorway, looking far less like the boy she remembered from her past. "Emily," he repeated, and there was urgency in his tone, mixed with something else, desperation. His eyes flicked to the boy in the corner, and for a moment, she saw a flicker of recognition cross his face. "Max, you need to get out of here," she said urgently, taking a step forward. "This isn't safe for you. They'll find you, too." "Oh, I'm not worried about them." He smirked, glancing back toward the door, where loud pounding and shouting echoed through the clinic. "But I'm more interested in what you're doing here, Em. Playing doctor now?" His tone was mocking, but there was a tension behind it that made her instinctively cover the boy with her body. Viktor shifted, stepping slightly in front of Emily. "You don't want any trouble, Max," he warned, his voice low and filled with authority. "Get out while you can." "Trouble?" Max's laughter was sharp and edged with sarcasm. "You don't know trouble until you've been on the other side of it like me. I have bigger plans." His gaze fell on Viktor, barely disguised misgivings swirling in his eyes. "And why is this brute still with you?" "Because he's not going anywhere," Emily snapped back, finding strength in her resolve. "He's here to protect us, and we don't need you or your gang to add to the chaos." For a moment, the room fell silent except for the muted sounds of the chaos beyond the door. Emily could feel the tension building. Would her past betray her in this moment? Chaos? You mean you're still pretending to live in some kind of paradise? Max scoffed, sarcasm dripping from his words. You think you can save everyone here? You think they see you as a hero? You're a fool, Emily. His words stung deep. Memories of their shared past flashed through her head. The innocent dreams, the laughter, the betrayal. But she pushed them aside, focusing instead on the boy beside her, on Viktor's fierce loyalty. I may not be a hero, but I'm not running away either, she said, her voice steady. I'm here for him. And if you want help, get out of the way. Max's expression hardened, his gaze shifting in contemplation. You really think you can just heal everyone's hurts? Yes, she affirmed, her voice stronger. If that's what it takes. At that moment, she heard at the door cracking further, splinters flying as heavy boots bore down. Panic gripped her once more. The gang was closer, and time seemed to thud against her ears. Emily, you need to go. Viktor urged, shifting his stance, eyes darting from Max to the uncertain door. This isn't just about you anymore. She couldn't look away from him, from this man who'd shown her a new side of courage. The boy needs us, she said softly. We can't let them inside. Then let me help, Max offered, the unexpected plea slicing through the tension. But we have to move fast. They won't hesitate to hurt you. Viktor and Emily exchanged glances. Could they really trust him? They didn't have time to deliberate. As another shove rattled the door, the walls around them felt like they were closing in. Your decision, Viktor said quietly, anticipation crackling like electricity. Are you in or out? She asked Max, her heart pounding in her chest. She realized that, for better or worse, trust was a risk they would have to take. But would her choice bring salvation, or lead them deeper into the storm? As the door threatened to crash down, the answer loomed just as large as the danger they faced. Emily's heart raced as she locked eyes with Max. The weight of his offer hung between them like an unspoken promise, a thread of hope tangled in danger. Could she really rely on him? The door splintered again, a loud crash that sent shivers down her spine. There was no time left for hesitation. Fine, she said, her voice firm despite the fear clawing at her insides. But one wrong move, Max. I get it, he interrupted, waving his hands as if to brush her words aside. I'm not here to play games. With no second thoughts, Max stepped up beside her, his presence somehow both reassuring and alarming. As they stood at the door, Emily could feel the urgency in the air, thick with the sound of pounding feet approaching. Ready? Viktor asked, bracing himself for the inevitable clash. They shared a fleeting glance, a silent bond formed in their fight for survival. Let us do this, Emily breathed, resolute. Max grinned an expression that didn't quite reach his eyes. That flicker of something dangerous still lingered there. He pushed open the door, and they stepped out into the chaos. The scene that met them was one of madness. Shadows moved in every direction, voices shouted threats, and men moved like shadows, eyes fierce and angry. Adrenaline surged. Emily's hands tightened into fists, the urgency now palpable. Stay close. Viktor commanded, moving with a protective stance in front of her and the boy. He led the way, weaving through the crowd, but it was nearly impossible to escape the chaos that engulfed them. Max fell in beside them, casting glances over his shoulder. We need to head for the back exit. There's a path that leads outside, but it'll be guarded. The realization hit Emily guards. How are we supposed to get past them? Max's smirk returned, a hint of mischief surfacing in his expression. Trust me. I have a plan. They reached a narrow corridor that led to the back of the clinic, the air thick with tension. Viktor nodded to Emily, and she felt an odd blend of trust and fear. Did they have what it took to escape? Max, lead the way, she urged, breathless. He winked, and for a split second, she could see the boy he used to be before everything changed. Then he turned, moving swiftly. Emily followed closely, trying to keep Viktor and the boy in her line of sight. As they neared the exit, the sound of voices got louder, their aggression palpable. Max slowed, his playful demeanor replaced by seriousness. "All right, when I say go, we bolt for it, and do not look back." Emily nodded, her heart thumping painfully against her ribs. They were almost there. "Go!" Max shouted, a fierce urgency as he pushed the door open. They burst through. Wind whipped against their faces, jarring them back to reality. The world outside felt both liberating and frightening, but Emily didn't have time to dwell on her fear. A shout erupted from behind them. They raced forward, footsteps pounding against the pavement, their bodies propelled by pure adrenaline. "Over here!" Viktor shouted, tugging Emily toward the cover of a nearby alley. They ducked down, breaths coming in ragged gasps. Emily looked at Max, who seemed surprisingly composed amid the chaos. "Nice plan," she said with a sinking feeling. "What's next?" Max glanced back at the chaos behind them, and for a fleeting moment, vulnerability flickered in his eyes. "We wait for a moment. I know their patterns. But I'll need your trust to make this work." Her stomach churned with uncertainty. Could she afford to trust him? "We can't hide forever," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Then we'll have to fight back," Max replied, and suddenly, she saw a determination in him, a spark that hinted at redemption. Was this their chance to turn the tide? The thought of facing whatever lay ahead gripped her, but just as quickly, she felt a flicker of possibility. In the heart of chaos, could they reshape their destinies? As the echoes of chaos faded into the distance, her heart beat louder. Would they emerge as allies, or would old wounds tear them apart once more? Emily's mind raced, battling the uncertainty swirling inside her. They were huddled in the alley, the harsh reality of the world outside crushing in on them. She stole a glance at Max. His jaw was set, determination written across his features. Was he really the same boy who once flashed her charming smiles? "Max, seriously, what's the plan?" She pressed again, her voice low but urgent. He shifted, glancing down the alley, searching for any sign of their pursuers. "The guards outside have a rhythm. They don't expect us to be quick. We'll have a window to break for the car parked on the other side of the street. It's a risk, but it's our best shot." Viktor's eyes darted toward the mouth of the alley. Can we really trust him? Emily felt a stab of frustration. We don't have time to second guess. We either act or we stay hidden forever. Fine, Viktor relented, his voice still weary but edged with determination. But get ready. I don't want to lose anyone else today. Max's face lit up with a fierce grin. That's the spirit. When I say go, we run. Her heart pounded louder, drowning out her doubts. Just then, a group of men rounded the corner at the far end of the alley, voices booming, nerves prickling in the air like static. Now! Max yelled. They erupted from their cover, feet pounding against the pavement. Emily felt Viktor's hand clasped firmly around hers, pulling her forward. The adrenaline coursed through her body as she sprinted beside Max, who was leading the charge. The distance to the car seemed endless, a wide-open space all too exposed to the chaos surrounding them. But the urgency pushed her on. She could hear the men's angry shouts behind them growing louder. Faster! Max urged, sprinting ahead. Just as they reached the car, Emily noticed a figure moving on the rooftop across the street. A shadow seemed to watch their every move. Her heart sank. There's someone up there. Without thinking, she pointed urgently. Max turned, eyes widening. Forget about it. In. They dove inside the battered vehicle, Viktor slamming the door just as a voice pierced the air. Stop them. Emily looked at Max's face. It was a mix of fear and exhilaration. What now? She gasped, her lungs burning. I can hotwire it, he said, fingers quickly moving to the ignition. She could see the steady rhythm of his breathing, a calming contrast to their frantic escape. Before she could respond, the sound of pounding feet drew closer. Viktor pressed his back against the door ready for the worst. Emily's pulse raced. Hurry, we can't stay here. With a few quick twists and a sudden spark, the engine roared to life. Max grinned, the intensity of the moment igniting a fire within her. At least something's going our way. Emily barely had time to process her own emotions when Max floored the gas pedal. The tires squealed as they lurched forward, weaving through the chaos of the streets. Where to? Viktor shouted, scanning the streets for enemies and allies alike. Anywhere but here. Emily yelled, feeling the chaos closing in. But as they tore through the streets, an unsettling sense loomed over her. Had they truly escaped? Around them, sirens blared and the streets seemed alive with danger. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that the threat wasn't far behind. Max, what if they find us? Then we'll face them together, he said, his intensity shining through. We're stronger than we were. Together. As they entered a darker part of the city, an uneasy calm settled in. But peace was fleeting, and with it came a haunting memory, the figure on the rooftop. Was there a deeper enemy lurking in the shadows? With that haunting thought tethered to her, Emily gazed out of the window, fear coiling in her stomach. What had they really escaped from, and what awaited them next? When she turned to Max, determination burned in her heart. How could she truly trust him, and more importantly, would he be the key to their salvation or their doom? The car raced through the narrow streets, weaving between flickering streetlights and looming shadows. Emily's heart was still hammering in her chest, the adrenaline refusing to let her calm down. She turned to Max, his grip firm on the wheel, sweat glistening on his brow. He was focused, but she could see the flicker of fear in his eyes whenever he glanced in the rearview mirror. Did you see who it was? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Max shook his head. No. I just know they won't stop until they find us. We have to keep moving. The weight of his words settled heavily in the car. Viktor leaned back in his seat, fingers tapping anxiously. Where do we go next? We can't just drive forever. Let us head to the old warehouse by the docks, Max suggested, a hint of urgency creeping into his voice. It's out of sight. We'll figure things out there. Emily felt a sinking sensation in her stomach. The docks were notorious for hiding places, but also for their dangers. Isn't that where? Yeah, Max interrupted, his tone sharp. But it's also where we can lay low for a bit. We have to take risks if we're going to stay alive. With a nod, she glanced back out the window, her mind racing. She thought about how quickly everything had spiraled out of control. What had once been a normal day had turned into a nightmare. Their choices were narrowing, and with each passing second, she felt the fragile threads of trust unraveling. As they neared the warehouse, Max turned the headlights off, coasting to a stop in a secluded lot. He turned to them, eyes intense. We need to stay quiet. If anyone spots us suddenly, a loud clang echoed through the night, making Emily jump. She spun around, scanning the area, fear lacing her every thought. What was that? Probably just the wind, Viktor said, but his voice lacked conviction. They all shared a tense silence, the weight of their predicament pressing in hard. Emily could sense the danger lurking just beyond the shadows. We can't just sit here, she whispered, wanting to move, to be anywhere but stuck in the moment. Max took a deep breath. All right, we'll check the perimeter. Stay close. Before he could finish his sentence, a hooded figure emerged from the dark, stepping into the faint glow of the warehouse's light. Who's there? Max called out, his voice steady but with an undercurrent of tension. The figure froze, then slowly lifted their hands. I mean no harm, came a gravelly voice. I'm just looking for shelter. Emily's pulse raced. Was this a trap or a relief? The stranger stepped closer, revealing sharp features hiding beneath the hood. I know this place well. If you're running, you can trust me. Viktor shot a wary glance at Emily and Max. Can we trust him? Do we have a choice? Max replied, frustration creeping into his tone. Emily felt torn. Could they afford to trust this stranger? And what would happen if they let their guard down? Her instincts screamed that this was a crossroads, a moment that could either lead to escape or doom. Before she could voice her concerns, Max nodded towards the stranger. All right, we'll listen. But you better know your way around here. The figure nodded, stepping further into the light, revealing dark eyes that bore an unsettling knowledge. I know more than you think, and I might have the answers you're searching for. Emily's heart raced as she wondered what answers could possibly lie ahead. As they followed this new ally into the dark recesses of the warehouse, one thought flooded her mind: were they truly ready to discover the truths hidden within their escape? What awaited them in that shadowy place filled with secrets, and would they emerge stronger or forever changed? The warehouse doors creaked ominously as they stepped inside, the stale air thick with dust and the faint smell of salt water. Shadows danced along the walls as Max flicked on his phone's flashlight, illuminating the grimy surroundings. Emily felt the cold settle in her bones, a stark reminder of how unwelcoming this place was. The hooded figure led them deeper into the building, each step echoing like a heartbeat in the silence. Emily glanced over her shoulder, half expecting to see someone lurking in the shadows, but the only things that greeted them were old crates and scattered debris. Stay close, Max whispered, his voice low and tense. As they reached an old office area, the figure stopped, pulling down the hood to reveal a man with sharp angles in his face, skin weathered by time. I'm Theo, he said, his voice a blend of gravel and weariness. You can trust me. I've dealt with your kind before. What does that even mean? Viktor's skepticism was evident, his arms crossed defensively. Theo raised an eyebrow, eyes assessing. I've seen people run from trouble. They usually don't make it far. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. Emily held her breath. She could sense a history behind those words, one lined with survival and betrayal. What do you know about the people after us? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Theo sighed, leaning against a wall. They are relentless. They don't just hunt, they enjoy the chase. You're in way deeper than you think. He scanned her face, gauging her shock. This isn't just about you anymore. They'll stop at nothing to find you, and when they do. A chill crept up Emily's spine. She felt the weight of despair wash over her. This wasn't just a game. We need a plan, Max interjected, breaking the suffocating silence. We can't just hide. If they're looking for us, they'll find us eventually. Theo nodded. You're right. But first, you need to lay low and trust your instincts. I can help you, but you have to follow my lead. What does that mean? Emily asked, her energy wavering. She was torn between fear and a flicker of hope. It means we have to move quickly and quietly. I know the back routes around here. There's an escape boat we can use. Emily exchanged glances with Max and Viktor. They needed an escape, but trusting this stranger felt like a gamble, one where all the cards were stacked against them. Why should we trust you? Viktor asked bluntly. Theo stepped closer, urgency churning in his eyes. Because I don't want to see anyone else get hurt. I've lost too many people to this. If you're in as deep as I think you are, sticking around won't help. Emily absorbed his words. The truth lived in his voice, muffled but unmistakable. Maybe they were out of options, but the fear gnawed at her. Was she really willing to trust him with their lives? Okay, Max said, breaking the tension. What's the plan? Theo shot a glance over his shoulder toward the entrance, a flicker of paranoia washing over him. We don't have much time. Follow me. As they ventured deeper into the warehouse, stilling her doubts, Emily felt a sense of determination rise up within her. They had to trust someone, and maybe, just maybe, this stranger was their best chance. But what would it cost them? With every step into the unknown, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of something bigger, a truth that could either save them or shatter everything they thought they knew. What awaited them on the other side of loyalty, and how much were they willing to sacrifice for survival? They followed Theo into a narrow corridor, shadows flickering along the walls like whispers of the past. The air grew colder, laden with the echoes of what had once been a life left behind, memories hidden beneath layers of grime. Emily's heart raced. Each step felt heavy, not just with the weight of her fear but with the hope that maybe, just maybe, they could find freedom. Over here, Theo directed, gesturing toward a door with a rusty doorknob. He pushed it open with a creak, revealing a small room cluttered with tools and bits of machinery. At the far end was a weather-beaten table, its surface speckled with remnants of past repairs. "This is where we can regroup," he said, glancing around nervously. "We need to figure out our next move, and quickly." Max stepped forward, his brow furrowed. "What if they find us here? Isn't this a bad spot?" Theo shook his head, a flicker of confidence piercing through his initial anxiety. "No one knows this place like I do. But we have to work fast, their network is wide. We'll be lucky if we get a head start before they catch up." Emily leaned against the wall, her thoughts racing. "What's the escape boat like?" she asked, trying to envision a way out of this nightmare. "It's a small craft, hidden in a cove nearby. We can make it there under the cover of night," Theo explained, his voice steadying. "But getting there is the challenge. They have eyes everywhere. What's our window?" Viktor crossed his arms, evaluating their options. "Tonight. If we're careful, we can slip out right under their noses. But you all have to trust me. Once we leave this room, it's about sticking together." Max nodded, exchanging worried glances with Emily. There was an intensity in the air, a palpable tension that wrapped around them like a tightly wound coil. Emily felt the fight between her instincts, a raw determination pushing against the crushing weight of fear weaving through her thoughts. "Trust," she whispered to herself, memories of betrayal surfacing uninvited. They had trusted before. It hadn't ended well. But there was something in Theo's eyes, something sincere. Was it desperation or genuine resolve? "I can't just follow blindly," she finally said, her voice firm. "If we're going to do this, we need to know exactly who we're running from." Theo swallowed hard, the lines on his face deepening with the gravity of her words. "The people after you are mercenaries. They don't just take orders, they relish the hunt. I've seen what they can do to families like yours and mine." Emily flinched at the implication. She could feel her heart begin to race again, each beat echoing against the walls of her mind. "What do you mean?" He paused, calculating his next words carefully. "What you're running from isn't just a person or a group, it's a system that feeds on fear. They'll stalk you with a razor's edge of precision until they get what they want." A dark silence wrapped around them. Emily could almost hear her heart thumping in her ears. "What do we do?" Theo straightened, determination replacing his weariness. "We push back. You've got to understand, they're stronger when you're isolated. Together, you stand a chance." Max stepped up to Emily's side, his presence reassuring yet laced with uncertainty. "So what do we need to do to prepare?" "Gear up, stay silent, and trust each other. It's going to be a long night," Theo replied, urgency creeping into his voice. Emily inhaled, her thoughts spiraling. The weight of the situation crashed over her. She glanced at Max, catching a glimpse of the fierce determination glowing in his eyes. Was she brave enough to believe that escape was possible? "All right," she finally said, not just to Theo but to herself. "Let us do this." Just then, distant sounds echoed through the warehouse, footsteps and murmurs growing nearer. Raw panic surged within her. "Maybe we don't have as much time as we thought," Theo said, urgency spiking in his voice. "We need to move. Now." With fear lighting the path ahead and uncertainty gnawing at the edges of their minds, they would have to make that leap into the unknown. But as they rushed out of the room, the question echoed deep within Emily, a question that could shift the very foundation under their feet: how far would she go to save the people she loved? As they bolted out of the makeshift hideout, fear surged through Emily. The hurried footsteps echoed, swirling the memories of their escape in a chaotic dance. Viktor pushed forward, scanning every shadow, while Max guided them like a beacon of hope, though uncertainty lingered in the air. "Stay close," Max urged, his voice cutting through the tension as they threaded their way through the dimly lit corridors of the warehouse. The group navigated gravel floors and dusty crates, each step igniting adrenaline. Time felt like it stood still, every sound amplified, every heartbeat palpable against the soft whispers of fear. Where would they go now? Would they even get the chance to make it to that escape boat? "Over there." Theo gestured towards an old exit, the light of dusk filtering in through the cracks, illuminating their journey. Emily took a breath. "We can make it," she whispered to herself, but the sinking weight of doubt crushed her spirit. Yet, glancing at Viktor, his fierce determination ignited something within her. He wasn't just protecting her, he was standing for a life beyond violence, peeling away the layers of his past with each step they took together. They reached the exit, and Theo dashed through, rapidly checking both ways before beckoning them to follow. The air felt different outside, electric and alive, a stark contrast to the suffocating atmosphere inside. "Go, go," Max urged, his urgency propelling Emily forward. Before she knew it, they were racing across the open ground, the cool air biting at their skin but invigorating their spirits. Suddenly, a shout erupted from behind, chasing the shadows. Emily felt a surge of fear. Were they too late to outrun the chaos that pursued them? Just as her heart sank, Viktor glanced back, his expression transforming into fierce determination. "Keep moving," he roared, pushing them faster as he clenched his jaw, grounding them in that moment. They dashed toward the edge of the docks, the rhythmic crash of the waves pulsating in her ears, blending with their thudding hearts. Emily could almost taste freedom, but it was thick with trepidation. "We're almost there," Theo shouted, pointing toward a small boat bobbing against the tide, cloaked in shadows as the sun dipped beneath the horizon. But their relief was short-lived. From behind them, the sounds of men, angry, malicious voices grew louder, reverberating through the heavy dusk air. Panic surged anew, urging Emily to move faster. "Don't look back," Viktor commanded, sprinting ahead, muscles taut and focused. But as they neared the boat, a figure emerged from the shadows ahead, a shape, familiar yet threatening. "Emily!" Max shouted, signaling her to slow down. She halted, her breaths coming in fast rasps, uncontrollable dread flooding her senses as she recognized the looming presence. It was one of the gang members, eyes calculating, intentions unfurling like a black banner. "Time to settle this, Em." The figure snarled, his lips curving into a cruel grin. From behind, their pursuers drew near. It was a standoff. It was now or never. "Get to the boat," Viktor yelled, his eyes locked onto Emily's, urging her forward. But instead of retreating, Emily stood her ground, swallowing hard. "No. We can't let this end here." Her voice echoed with an unexpected confidence that surprised even her. "What are you saying?" Max demanded, disbelief coloring his tone. "We fight together." A hush fell over them, the chaos hovering like a dark cloud. But in that moment, Emily felt a flicker of hope illuminating the darkness. They were stronger together, she could feel it in her bones. Turning to Viktor and Max, she took a tentative step forward, her heart racing with a new energy. "You both fought for your lives today. Let us turn this around." Viktor's fierce determination burned brighter, and without hesitation, he stepped forward, towering in front of her. Together. He echoed, confidence rippling through their resolve. Max almost flinched, but before he could protest, the shadows shifted behind them, more gang members emerging. Out of the way, or feel the consequences. One of them thundered, their menacing presence creeping toward the group. Not today. Emily declared, finding strength from deep within. Viktor charged forward, a force of nature, taking the lead as Emily and Max followed closely. It was a whirlwind of arms, legs, and energy intersecting in a blaze of fury. As they threw punches, moved like shadows, every hit became a symbol of resilience against oppression. The thrum of fear turned into a rhythm of defiance, a tide of unity, and for a moment, time felt suspended. Fighting side by side, Emily felt liberated, a newfound strength coursing through her veins. Then, just as they began to gain the upper hand, her gaze caught the form of the mysterious figure from the distance, the watcher, the betrayer. But now wasn't the time for hesitation. "Let us go," she shouted, guiding them toward the boat, muscles burning and hearts racing. Viktor vaulted onto the vessel first, extending his hand back toward them. "Come on, Em." Fueled by adrenaline, she scrambled up beside him, turning back to ensure Max followed. They caught sight of gang members retreating while the remaining few lingered, anger masking fear, realization rolling in like a wave. "Now!" Max yelled, diving into the boat beside them. The engine roared to life, cutting through the tension as they surveyed the shoreline. As they pulled away, Emily glanced back at the figures dimming into the distance, their dark silhouettes swallowed by the night. Exhaustion flowed through her, but within that fatigue was liberation. "We made it," she breathed, a radiant smile spreading across her face. Viktor turned to her, surprise dancing in his expression. "You fought for it." "You." Before he could finish, she cut him off with fervor. "We all did. Together. We're family now." The camaraderie cemented amidst the shadows. They finally had each other, a bond forged from chaos, strength, and the fierce resilience to rise above the storm. As the boat glided through the water heading toward an uncertain future, Emily felt hope flourish. Wherever they went next wouldn't matter, as long as they had each other. For in the heart of the storm, they had discovered something powerful: transformation, loyalty, and above all, love. And as the city receded behind them, Emily knew this was just the beginning of their journey. They had survived hell together. Now, it was time to reshape their destiny and step into their new lives. But before that, she couldn't shake this moment. There was life ahead, hope waiting at the shore, but it was on them to reach it. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of backing the channel through these actions.